Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking about building a spec home, becoming a home builder, starting a home building business. I did a video about this, my last one, on how to get started with the basics, basically setting yourself up as a business, how the financing part of it works, the very first step in which you kind of need to get started with. Now today I'm going to talk more about the actual building process, not yet building the house, but what you have to do right before that. And that's going to be getting a plan, getting the plan drawn, and then getting the plan bid out so that you can create a budget and you know what the cost is to build the house, and you know what the sales price of the house is going to be if you've already purchased a lot or you have a lot in mind. And then maybe this is going to tell you whether or not you can even do this or not. Because if you create the budget and there's only, $5,000 between what you're going to build this house for and what it's going to sell for, well, that's not going to work. You've got to have a certain amount that you're happy with making, and that's what the budget needs to work off of. Now, if this is going to be your first home that you're building for spec, you're probably not going to get as good of pricing. You're not going to get as good of pricing as some of the other more established builders that are out there and are building a number of homes a year, because these subcontractors, these lumber companies, they haven't worked with you before. They don't know you. They don't know that you're going to continue to do this. So they're really not going to give you any special pricing. So I think one of the most important things with making money on a spec home is, because that's where you're going to start. If you're going to start a home building business, you're going to start by building a spec home. You can use that home as a model home. So the whole time that house is being built, you should be doing open houses there, even if it's just framed up. Set up a table in there, have some literature out there, or at least some information on you and this house. That's how you get started. You hold that house open every weekend until it's sold. And hopefully you'll get some customers that have come in there that you'll be able to build for based off of that house. And then once that one sells, you can do another spec home. But to make sure that you're going to have enough profit margin in between your build costs and what you're actually going to sell this house for, you got to make sure you're buying the right piece of property. You can't go out and buy a $150,000 lot selling at top retail price and then build a house on it and expect to make money on it. You're going to want to try to find a lot that is something that's been developed, not as of right now. Any newly developed lots that are coming out to the market right now are expensive because they were just developed and the developer has just incurred all of these expensive infrastructure costs. So if you want to find something that's going to have a little more of a value, if you find a lot that was developed, 15, 10, 20 years ago, that cost has kind of already been absorbed. Maybe somebody's already bought it, they're reselling. You're going to find a lot for a much more reasonable price. Now, you don't want to just buy a cheap lot because it's cheap. This goes to, this is the general rule of thumb with real estate, is you want to make sure you're in a good location. Location. So you want to find a lot that is good value, and you want it to be an area where the new house that you're going to be building isn't going to be, you're going to be building a 1,700 square foot ranch as a spec home. And you're going to be building in this lot where all of the other houses in the neighborhood are 1,000 square feet, and they were built 30 years ago and they're selling for $150,000, and you're going to have to sell your home for, close to $300,000. That's not a good scenario there. You want to try to find a neighborhood where there's other new homes that are being built in the neighborhood. Corner lots. Corner lots are always lots that are the last ones to sell. Those are typically ones that you can find and get pretty good prices on. And once you put a house on it, it's typically it's going to sell. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to find a blueprint. You're not going to want to draw this up by hand. This is something that I would recommend, and this is all my, if I were, going to be restarting, if I were going to be starting from scratch, this is what I would do. So I would go on to a site, Design Basics, eplans.com, something like that. And remember, you're building this house to sell. You're not, oh, you want to find the coolest floor plan with all these awesome features and these big jacked up ceilings and beam work throughout, and this is just going to be an awesome house. Because yeah, it would be, but you know, you're going to be priced way up high, and that's not a good idea for a spec house. A spec house, you want to keep your own personal opinions out of it, and that even goes for the finishes that you're going to be putting in the home. Keep everything neutral. Pick things, and you can ask the flooring company that you're working with, what are most people picking? You know, don't pick something that you like. You know, if you like it and a lot of other people do, that's fine, but don't just pick these countertops that you like. They're so unique and beautiful. There's just so much movement and blotchiness. You want the floor plan to appeal to the largest group of people possible. All of the finishes, same thing there. And most importantly, the price. You do not want to be overpriced, because if you are, that really limits the amount of people that you're going to be able to market your home to. So you want to be able to keep your house at a price point where it's going to sell quickly. You know, and in our market, if we're building something for, and this is rare, again, we have to find a lot for really inexpensive to do this, but if we're going to build a 1,650 square foot ranch on a $50,000 lot, and we're going to sell the house for, you know, $345,000, anything that's $350,000 or less is going to move pretty quickly in our market if it's new construction. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. You can talk to a local realtor to kind of find out what the sweet spot is there. But again, when you're looking at the floor plan, you want to make sure that it's going to be something that isn't crazy. The more foundation corners that you have, the higher the building expense is going to be, because the more the foundation is going to cost, and the more that the roof and the trusses are going to cost. There's more labor with the framers there. So you don't want to just build a basic rectangle that looks like crap, but at the same time, make sure you're paying attention to the overall layout should be a rectangle. Maybe you've got a couple bump outs here and there off of it. Roof pitches. You don't want to have a super steep, you know, church-looking roof pitch, a 12-12 roof pitch. You want to keep that closer to a 6-12 or an 8-12 roof pitch. The amount of stone or brick that you're going to do on the house. Do a nice brick belt. Brick is less than stone, even though stone's fake, it's cultured. But yes, brick is about $5 a square foot less than stone, at least in our market. Garage, in our market, 3-car for sure, unless you can't fit it on the lot. And keep the house, you know, again, I would probably be looking to do something around that 1,600 square foot mark, 15 to 16, probably no more than 1,700, because if this is my first one, I really, really, really want to limit my exposure. I do not want to put a ton of money into this. I want to keep the sales price down enough to where as soon as this house is done, it's going to sell. So find that floor plan that is going to be simple to build, and you can double check this with the draftsman or architect that you're going to use to draft up this home plan. Now, scratch the word architect, because anybody that's an architect is going to be charging an arm and a leg, and you don't need an architect. You need a draftsman to take the conceptual plan that you have and put it into a working plan that has your electrical plan, your foundation plan. It's got everything on there that all of the contractors need to build this house. And let's rewind a little bit. So once you do find a plan that you like, and you verify that this is going to be a cost-efficient plan to build, you're going to have to buy that plan from ePlans or whatever the site is, so that you have the license on it. And you can buy this in a couple of different ways. They'll give you an option to buy it so that you can build 5 of these, or you'll just get a license where you can just build the one. I would probably just do the one starting off, but that way you're not going to get in trouble. If you put this house up, you're not going to have anybody contacting you saying, hey, that's my floor plan, and you're in, you know, hot water when it comes to something like that. So that is the the blueprint step there is finding that house plan. Now, how do you find a good draftsman? You want to find a draftsman that is drawing plans for other builders in your market, ideally, because you're probably going to be using subcontractors that other builders in your market are using, and it's nice if they're used to seeing the same type of plan. It's just going to make things easier for them. So I would recommend contacting your local builders association. So I live in Racine County. We do most of our home building in Racine and Kenosha counties. We have a Racine and Kenosha home building association. And knowing what I do now about this association, which we're a member of, several builders are, lots of contractors are, you can go to this association and you can ask them for a list of the contractors. You could probably even go on their website and find a list of all the different contractors. If a contractor is a member of an association, that's a good sign. It means that, to me, they have somewhat of a good reputation. They're not a fly-by-night company. If they're a member of an association, the association can kind of hold them accountable. The association doesn't have to accept anybody that wants to become a member of it. So, in my opinion, that's a good place to look for people that you want to associate with. And maybe if you're in the trades, you might already have some people that you know and want to work with. But if you're not, you're starting from scratch, then I think this is a good way to do it. I would start off and I would find out from the association, who do you recommend for a draftsman? Do you know any draftsmen? Even if there aren't any currently that are part of the association, you can ask them, were there any that were in the association? And you can get names from them, because that's what you're going to want to have done is find somebody, a good reputable draftsman, have them draw up this floor plan and do a full set of blueprints so that you've got foundation, electrical, everything is there, because now you're going to take and you're going to use these subcontractors that you've talked with your local builders association about, and you're going to bid this plan out. So you're going to email them the plan with all of the information possible. When you're sending your plan to the millwork company that's going to be supplying interior doors and interior trim, you want to make sure that you've picked some things out already, because when you send your plan to the millwork company, you want to have a specific door that they're quoting, because a two-panel raised panel poplar pre-finished interior door is going to be more money than a 3-panel recessed panel poplar pre-finished door. So you don't want them just bidding the house with whatever their default settings are going to be. You want them to have the specific information, the right information, so that they can give you an accurate number. Same thing with the trim. Is it going to be a flat stock type trim, or is it going to have a little bit of profile to it? Is it going to be pre-finished or painted white? Just a heads up, at least from our experience, the painted white trim package is going to be less money. So that's going to be a masonite interior door. It's solid, just as heavy as a solid wood door. It's painted white. And then your trim, you can use a pine trim that's painted white. Pine is going to be less than poplar. Those masonite doors are going to be less than a solid poplar door. So it's typically less money for the trim. Your painting package is going to be a little bit more, but overall, it still ends up being a little bit less to do a painted trim package over a stained trim package. And I think you're safe with doing that, because white, again, is going to appeal to a huge group of people. As you're getting these bids back, you want to have an Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to enter in all of the, plans, survey work, excavating, plumbing, concrete driveway, any little expense, the porta potty, the dumpster, commission that you're going to have to pay to a real estate agent if they bring in a client. Make sure there's some fluff there for that commission. Your overhead, every single category needs to be spelled out. And then as you get all these bids back in, you're going to fill in this budget sheet. Now you're going to know exactly what the build cost is for the house. You can see what your profit margin is. You've got all of the numbers. You pretty much know what you're gonna make on this house now, as long as things stick to the budget. So that's why it's so important to give the correct information, so that things are going to be sticking to the budget. And you know, once all of these numbers are put together, that overhead amount is going to determine what your actual sales price is. Those are kind of your first steps for getting started. Is find the plan, get it drawn up, get all of your bids, and now at this point you know which contractors you're going to be using most likely, and put your budget together. Now you're ready to move on to the next steps, and we'll talk about that in future video. If you've got any questions, let me know. I do offer a service which is almost like a retaining fee. You can keep me on retainer. I can share these forms with you. We can talk about what you need to do to get started. Phone call conversations. You can bounce things off of me. I'm basically there for you to help you through this entire process. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share it. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, and God bless.